the Batmobile, the most iconic fictional vehicle ever created. For over 80 years of Batman's existence in various media, the Batmobile was by far one of the character's most famous trademarks. But as we all know, Batman's character had some major changes along the way. At first, he was serious and gritty, then he was corny. Then he was gritty again, back to corny, back to dark, then he was kind of everything at once. This ever-changing nature of his character meant that his surroundings had to change accordingly, and of course, the Batmobile lived through many incarnations too. So in this video, we'll take a look at the history's most famous and interesting versions of the Batmobile throughout the years, trying to find out what made them so iconic. The first Batmobile appeared in Detective Comics number 27, the same issue that marked the first appearance of the Caped Crusader. Batman's first automobile was a stock red coupe, which also served as Bruce Wayne's vehicle. Although the name Batmobile was only introduced in Detective Comics number 48, this vehicle can be considered the first Batmobile ever. This high-performance red car is the first vehicle to officially be called Batmobile. This car was introduced in Detective Comics number 48 and was based on the 1936 Court 810-812. This version of the Batmobile had a golden bat hood ornament, a supercharged engine, and was capable of reaching incredible speeds. But after only a couple of months since this issue came out, we finally got a Batmobile that could be immediately recognized as a car that belonged to the Dark Knight. This one is an instant classic. The Batmobile designed by Jerry Robinson in Batman number 5 could also reach amazing speed as its predecessor, but it was finally painted in a dark blue color and featured an iconic bat hat on its front along with a fin on its top, which quickly became staples for future Batmobile designs. In fact, this Batmobile was so visually great that for many years to come this design was only slightly tweaked here and there, most notably with the addition of a bubble dome. It all started to change after in 1966 the first episode of The Batman was released. This is, without a doubt, one of the most iconic Batmobiles in the history of the character. Instead of going with a stock car as the previous Batman TV show, this series Batmobile was something special. Created by a car builder George Barris, the car was based on an abandoned Lincoln Futura concept car. The sleek black design with red trims, long fins and exquisite lines, this car is a beauty to behold. In the series, the Batmobile is powered by an atomic turbine engine and features many gadgets, including rockets, lasers, and the famous Batphone. Due to the success of the TV show, the comic book Batmobiles were heavily inspired by this car, and the 1966 Batmobile was the Batmobile for numerous years to come. During these years, Batman had ventured into the world of animation. In the Batman Superman Hour, the Batmobile had a really stylish black body with two big fins on the back and a blue bat logo on the front. The Super Friends Batmobile was based on the Futura Batmobile with a blue paint job and yellow bat logos on the sides. This one was very similar to the one we got in Batman number 204, both heavily inspired by the 1966 Batmobile. However, in 1986 we got a Batmobile that, although appeared in an alternate universe, became iconic nonetheless. It's because it was like nothing we've ever seen before. The Batmobile from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns is hardly even a Batmobile. This one is a massive, heavily armored tank created to withstand anything Batman enemies could throw at him. This Batmobile is unique in his own way, and it served a great role in inspiring some of the future tank-like Batmobiles. During the 80s, many Batmobiles were shown as rather simplistic race cars without any extraordinary design choices. But in 1988, we got one of the most iconic Batman stories, along with a rather unusual Batmobile. The Batmobile in Alan Moore's Killing Joke looks like a combination of the early Batmobiles. It has a profile of the 1941 Batmobile with its fat fenders, but also has a bubble dome which was created in the 1950s. Its extremely long hood and a giant bat hat on the front made this design especially terrifying and powerful. Although there were many different Batmobile designs since the 1966, the Adam West Batmobile was still considered the ultimate Batmobile. But Batman's first appearance on the silver screen marked the first appearance of what has arguably become the most iconic Batmobile to date.
Get in the car.
Which one?
Every Batman fan agrees this Batmobile is one of the greats. Designed by Julian Caldo for Tim Burton's 1989 Batman movie, this car is one of the most iconic movie cars ever made. Its sleek all-black body, elegant lines, two iconic fins at the back and the jet turbine at the front made its design unforgettable. This Batmobile was equipped with many gadgets, including two machine guns, a grappling hook for navigating through sharp corners, and a shield mode, which made this car almost indestructible. This Batmobile was a major inspiration for many Batmobiles to come, and remains along with the 1966 Batmobile one of the greatest Batmobiles to ever be created. The best Batman cartoon ever marked the appearance of yet another iconic Batmobile. This version took inspiration from both the 1989 movie and various comic book Batmobiles. Its overwhelmingly long body with a square shape fitted the timeless gothic scenery of the show perfectly. This Batmobile was also equipped with various gadgets like missile launchers, ejection seats, and smoke and oil dispensers. For many people who grew up watching Batman the Animated Series, this Batmobile holds a very special place in their hearts. With Joel Schumacher in the director's seat, the aesthetic of the Batman franchise had some significant changes. The Batmobile made for the Batman Forever movie was way different from the Tim Burton version. Its organic aesthetic with long fins at the back, missile-like shape, and decorative blue lighting were nothing like we've ever seen before. Most notable features of this Batmobile were the ability to drive in vertical directions using a grappling gun, and the ability to rotate the wheels through 90 degrees. This design threw out the simplicity and the visual appeal of the Burton Batmobile in favor of a more visually striking design, and didn't really succeed in becoming a more iconic Batmobile, although still earned its important place in the Batman history. In Batman number 526, J.H. Williams III created a classic Batmobile that would be a standard in comic books for years to come. Its body was shaped like a muscle car with two sharp fins on the back. This Batmobile had many different gadgets and was powered by a jet turbine. Its memorable design made it a fan favorite, and it was used in the comic books for a long time. Joel Schumacher's last installment in the already suffering franchise marked yet another live-action Batmobile. The Clooney-mobile was an open-air single-seater that somewhat combined the big fenders of the Keaton-mobile with the glowing parts and large fins of the flashy Kilmer-mobile. This car featured an immense arsenal of gadgets and was by far the longest Batmobile ever built, with more than 33 feet, 10 meters in length. In the years after the complete failure that was Batman and Robin, the Batman was most prominently featured in many animated series. In the direct sequel to the Batman animated series that was called The New Batman Adventures, the Batmobile was a very simplistic but sleek black coupe with small fins on the back. Although shorter and simpler than its predecessor, I believe this is a beautiful Batmobile with a great design and a proud member of the Batmobile Hall of Fame. The beloved Batman Beyond TV show featured a rather unique Batmobile. With the show set in the future, the Batmobile is a flying pod without any wheels that can fly at speeds up to Mach 3 and is equipped with a variety of gadgets such as onboard weapons, a grappling hook, a remote control, and a camouflage system. The interior is large enough for two people but only has one seat. Along with Terry McGinnis as Batman, this Batmobile is a memorable part of Batman's history. The whole design of the 2004 Batman cartoon was really interesting. Along with redesigned villains, this cartoon featured two very prominent Batmobiles. The first one was reminiscent of a highly modified sports coupe. It featured multiple jet exhausts, small fins on the back, and was built from all unique details to ensure Batman's secrecy. It was destroyed by Gearhead and made Bruce Wayne create a second Batmobile. This one was more similar to the original Batman the Animated Series Batmobile, with a longer body and a sleeker design. It was technically superior and therefore managed to beat Gearhead. Both Batmobiles feature a black and blue color scheme and fit the tone of the series perfectly.
He is in a vehicle.
Make a color?
It's a black tank.
After more than 8 years since the Batman and Robin killed the Batman franchise, Christopher Nolan gave the live-action adaptation of the world's greatest detective a new life. Batman Begins was a really realistic take on the Batman mythos, and the Batmobile was no exception. Created by Wayne Enterprises' Applied Sciences division and presented to Bruce Wayne by Lucius Fox, the Tumbler was an experimental vehicle created for laying bridges for the military. Described by the production designer as a cross between a Lamborghini and a tank, and clearly influenced by Frank Miller's Batmobile in The Dark Knight Returns, the Tumbler is one heck of a Batmobile. The car could reach immense speed, jump great distances using its jet engine, was heavily armored to withstand damage, and armed with heavy weaponry. The Tumbler also featured an attack mode, which changed the driver's position into horizontal to minimize the possibility of an injury, and a remote control mode, which could create distractions. When critically damaged, the driver would be ejected into the Batbot, a motorcycle created by the Tumbler's front wheels, before initiating self-destruction. Although never called the Batmobile in the movie, the Tumbler is one of the most famous Batmobiles in the history and a very original and realistic take on the iconic vehicle. The Batmobile from the 2008 Batman the Brave and the Bold is a cross between multiple Batmobiles, particularly the 1966 Futura Batmobile and the Kilmer-mobile from Batman Forever. It has a classic single fin on the back and a large bat hat on the front like the 1940s Batmobiles, a missile-like shape and black and red coloring. It could also transform into other Bat vehicles, such as Batplane and Batsub. It's a great design that paid tribute to many of the history's Batmobiles. The first game in the critically acclaimed Arkham series showed us a new version of the Batmobile. This one was heavily inspired by the 1989 Batmobile, with its large fenders and small fins, but featured more grills and a shorter size. In my opinion, this is a great design, and it's a shame it got such a small screen time and we didn't get to drive it, a mistake that would later be fixed in a future installment. When the DC universe got revamped and entered the New 52 period, Batman got several new Batmobiles. The first one was introduced in Detective Comics #1. This one was a weirdly shaped all-black Batmobile with an orange cockpit. However, during the Night of Owls storyline, Batman got a brand new Batmobile in Batman #9. This one was an all-black Batmobile with many intricate lines in its design and a massive bat hat on the front. This Batmobile served as Batman's primary vehicle for most of the New 52 run. It had a variety of gadgets, from a holographic camouflage to a built-in motorcycle similar to Batpod. Because of Greg Capullo's brilliant, fresh design, this Batmobile is one of the best Batmobiles created in the recent years. Batman's first computer-animated TV series introduced a brand new Batmobile. This one was a flat black sports car that looked somewhat like an F1 race car. Its orange cockpit and rims made for a very distinct color scheme. Overall, it was a really nice looking Batmobile. In 2015, many fans around the world could finally feel how it would be to drive a Batmobile. That's because the last installment in the Arkham series finally delivered what many people so wish to see in a Batman game: driving the Batmobile. This design of the Batmobile is great. It is heavily inspired by the Tumbler and the Dark Knight Rises Batmobile. It is a heavily armored destruction machine. The vehicle is a single-seater with a compartment for 2 people in the trunk and is filled with equipment such as a Vulcan gun, a 60mm cannon, remote control, EMP generator, grappling gun, and many more. A special feature of this Batmobile is it has 2 modes. The Pursuit mode allows for quick transportation, whereas the Battle mode gives the vehicle ability to move in every direction and shoot from its weapons. Rocksteady's design made this one a great addition to the Batmobile gallery. The Batmobile used in Batman vs Superman is beautiful. It is inspired by the Tumbler, but features a much lower profile with a rather sporty look to it. Created by the production designer Patrick Tatopoulos, this Batmobile has a long hood and 2 long fins on the back, which kinda look like Batman's flowing cape. The Batmobile is heavily armored and armed with a variety of gadgets, including a machine gun turret, harpoons, and a sonic repellent. Taking everything that was great about the Tumbler and putting it in an interesting package surely made this Batmobile a memorable one. The latest DC relaunch created what's possibly the best comic book Batmobile ever. This one is heavily inspired by the 1992 animated series. It has a sharp rectangular design with many features of the 1992 Batmobile, such as a long hood and a couple of short fins on the back. The front is decorated with a classic bat hat and its front tires are exposed. This design, created by David Finch, is a great throwback to the animated series and is one stunning looking Batmobile. The latest Batman full feature film is full of fan service and Easter eggs. Many iconic Batmobiles are shown to be kept inside Batman's enormous Batcave, but the one that is used by Batman in the movie is an original design. This Batmobile is similar to a dune buggy, and it has large off-road tires and a high profile. It is similar to the 1966 Batmobile in its color scheme, a black paint job with red lines and accents. This vehicle also had a variety of gadgets and could transform into the Batwing, but famously lacked any seatbelts. The second Batmobile shown in the movie is a giant one that could split into a Batmobile for Batman, a Batcycle for Robin, a Batwing for Batgirl, and a Bat-Tank for Alfred. Together combined, they make the monstrous car called the Ultimate Batmobile, something that was never shown in any Batman media before. After more than 25 Batmobiles spanning over 80 years, there's still so much more to this iconic vehicle. The Batmobile is something every kid dreamed of, and it pretty much encapsulates everything that is fun about this amazing character. If you're really interested in the history of the car you dreamed of driving as a kid, I recommend visiting Batmobilehistory.com. There you can find basically every official Batmobile ever. I'll leave the link in the bio. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell to not miss any upcoming videos. My name is Flying Head Mark. So long, fellas.